I said it was recording. I have problems with the recording sound. Yeah, all right. Could be me, you know, basically, I think it shuts down. Yeah. You can see it. Yeah. Well, I don't know why. The video. Yeah. If that shows up, anyway, that thing will show up for sure. That weird black bar. I don't know how to get rid of it. You know, this guy, you can just sit here. Oh, wait. I do that. Yeah, if it's like you have to reboot it, you know. Maybe you don't. All right, you're better than me. I use a Mac, so it's like. Yeah, you can do full screen with that one thing. Yeah. It's only 2 minutes. Yes. Yeah. All right, that's great. So what was your undergrad? So this is that's 30 years. Yeah. Anyway, so you guys want to get so Jeff Snyder's here from Rumpkee Recycling. He's like I don't know, he's surprisingly knowledgeable in the recycling business, like the actual stuff that's going on, much more than I am. So, like, anyway, basically, he's the guy to ask about this stuff.
Yeah.
And anyway, he did like business management in Missouri someplace.
Yeah.
Then he
All those years ago.
worked for 30 years, and now he's kind of head of the whole recycling.
Yeah. Introduce myself just a bit. So I'm Jeff Snyder. I'm the Senior Vice President of Recycling at Rumpkee. How many people are at Rumpkee? Thank you. Right, probably on the trash side, maybe not so much on the recycling side. I've been at Rumpkee for 4.5 years. And I just built a new material recovery facility in Columbus, Ohio. I'm going to show you a little video of the one in Cincinnati. Has anybody been to a material recovery facility? All right. Somebody, that's good, because I'm going to show this to you a little bit, so kind of get to understand it. We can talk plastics, we can talk a bunch of different stuff today. I've been at Rumpkee for 4.5 years, and I've been 26 years with Westrock, which is another big paper company, and then I also work for a company called Pratt Industries, who actually is a paper mill system as well. So I've been on the paper making side of the business for a long, long time.
Some of these guys do. Any of you guys do co-op?
This is where'd you work? Drive, yeah. So we sell a lot to Drive.
I worked at Gladfelter, I guess it's
Gladfelter.
now.
Absolutely. Who do they call now?
Pixel, I think.
Pixel?
Yeah.
That's
where I was.
You were at Pixel?
Yeah.
What city?
Chillicothe.
Chillicothe. Oh yeah, well, it's a virgin mill, right? That's it's not a recycling mill, it's a pulp mill.
But it's
Right. Wood, it's a wood pulp mill. It used to be called what did it be called? Maybe it wasn't Gladfelter back.
It was Gladfelter, that was what it was.
Yeah.
A while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and where were you at?
I was at Westrock.
Oh, you were? Yeah, I was back when that Westrock, when you call it Rock 10.
Yeah, I wasn't there. It was Westrock.
Yeah, it's Westrock, yeah, so they bought me in Westvaco, and that's how they became Westrock, you probably heard the story.
Yeah.
So what was the Charleston, was that paper mill?
Yeah, it was like virgin.
Okay, virgin paper, yeah. Recycling, Boston and Baltimore. And Baltimore, yeah, so that's right here. Anybody else in the paper or plastics world? Where'd you work?
Sonic in Mount Vernon.
Oh, okay, what do they do there?
Mostly TV.
Okay, nice. Nice, so we got a little bit of experience in here, so. I tell you what, I'm gonna go through this. This is really interactive. You guys can tell we're a pretty open book here, so. Raise your hand, let's talk about things. If you have questions, let's talk about it. If it has something to do with recycling, I've probably done it, I've probably been involved in it, I could probably answer your question. So we have 14 recycling plants that I have. 10 of them are post-industrial plants. We have 2 material recovery facilities, one here in Cincinnati, down on Vine Street, and then the other one in Columbus. And then we have a glass processing plant, so we process glass. And then we have a tire shredding plant in Hamilton, Ohio. So we also shred tires. So we got our hands on a little bit of everything when it comes to post-industrial, post-consumer recycling. So we'll talk to that. So let's go through this, and it's just a 2.5-minute video, but it's going to give you a good feel. This video is a little bit older, but it's going to give you a really good feel of what. It's just a watch, right? So if you have questions about this afterwards, we can talk, and I can talk about the changes. So this is about there everybody goes, and there's a little outdoor picture of it. It kind of talks about, gives you a sense of the size. Questions around that?
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with physical products.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can definitely.
I guess I thought it showed the robots in that.
Yeah, so the robots were an addition that I made later. So I'll talk about that as we move forward here.
Yeah, the IR though, you said you have AI now in the IR.
Yeah, so we have AI. Yep. So that's also in my presentation here. So I'll talk about that as well. Yep. So to give you a little more background on Rumpkee. So we started recycling in Centerville, Ohio in 1989. And then we opened up our first material recovery facility in Cincinnati in 1991. In 2012, we burned it to the ground. Anybody want to guess what caused the fire? Battery. Or lithium-ion batteries, bad things. Last year alone in that plant that I just showed you on the screen, we had 60 fires in that plant in a year. So it kind of tells you what we're dealing with there. So lithium-ion batteries, and I'll tell you some of the things that we've done to try to combat that. And then in 1993, we opened up our Columbus, Ohio facility. today, as I said, we have 14 recycling plants. We're currently recycling around 1 billion pounds of material every single year. I always talk about this because everybody says, well,
Is that all in Ohio or Philly?
that's Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky.
Oh,
Yeah, everybody always wants to talk about the chasing arrows and the number on the bottom of containers, right? And they say, well, that makes it recyclable. And I combat that all the time because for me, what makes something recyclable is I can run it through that equipment that you just saw in that video. So I can get it where it needs to go, number one. And number two, do I have an end market that I can turn that material back into something new? Okay, so that's what makes something recyclable. It has nothing to do with anything else but those two things. Because everywhere in the country, not just Rumpke, those two things have to happen. Or it's not really recyclable. You can put it in your recycling bin all day long, but if we can't sort it, it's not gonna work, right? So it happens all over the country that way. So it's very, very important. So we always identify different things in recycling bin by pictures or by descriptions. We don't use numbers. We don't use anything like that. We don't use HDPE. We don't use PP. People don't understand that. So we try to make it as simple as we possibly can so that people will recycle properly. Okay, so you can see the papers there. You can see all the plastic containers. In the 4 years I've been with Rumpke, I've added cups, I've added tubs, and just this last month I added thermoforms or clam shells. I'll talk about that in a minute too.
so of
Alright.
the percent of the stuff you get in, how much of it goes to the landfill?
Somewhere between 10 and 14% goes to the landfill.
That's not bad.
Now, if you live in Chicago or Los Angeles or some of those big cities like that, their contamination rates are in the 25-30%.
You say you added like cups and other plastics, does that mean it's added to this process?
Yeah, it's
Now
added.
we ship out?
Exactly, it's added to tell people that you can have different plastic cups in the recycling bin, right? And the reason is that I can sort them now. And number two, I've got people that want the cups, right? So that's the reason I can do that. And when I say cups, right, I have to be prepared for PET cups, polypropylene cups, HDPE cups, right? All of it's gonna come, so you have to make sure you recycle. Same way with tubs. We just did tubs 2.5 years ago, polypropylene tubs. So now polypropylene number 5 plastic is allowed in, it's we did that 2.5 years ago, so that's all the tubs.
So like, I guess the direction that technology is kind of heading isn't just being able to physically recycle those, but it's also like plants need to develop the technology to accept different things.
That's right. So if you have an acceptable market, you still have to be able to sort it. So if we can't sort it in the MRF, doesn't matter what your market is, because you can't make the product, get it to where you're trying to resell it, right?
Fortunately, we can't have one out.
That's right. That's right.
The technology to sort, for example, you show the IR, that's only for plastics or anything? No? And it uses air, right?
It uses air. So if you think about an NIR, so we're sorting brown out of paper. So if I want to sort all the newspaper out of the fiber, I can sort newspaper. If I want to fire on all brown out of the fiber, I can fire on all boxes, right? So it's not just plastics. You can use it for anything.
So if NIR is different from like FTIR, that
It is.
it includes the visual
It does.
or the, okay,
It's a spectrometer.
right.
So you're using the light. And how that light wave comes back, identifies the plastic, and then fires an air jet right place, right time, and blows that plastic off the bell.
Yeah.
The problem in IR.
Should be the same as that, I mean, that's lab, but
Oh, no.
yeah, it's the same thing. It's the
So
same.
but it includes both. Okay.
Yeah. it's the
Same thing.
I don't think, you don't have to do visible, like you don't do purple.
Oh,
red, or anything.
Yeah, the only thing in IR can't see. is
Some
black.
places do
Can't see
that.
black.
Right.
There are colors separating in a MRI.
There are.
Like in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
Not in the US.
Yeah, I can sort like Mountain Dew bottles on water bottles if I want to. So I can color sort. I just can't,
NIR.
yeah, I just can't see black.
So for black, you would use like middle range or another.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that.
So do you employ other spectroscopy?
Say that again.
Do you use other spectroscopy?
No.
Well, you're using X-ray or so. right?
We do use X-ray, I'll talk about that in a minute. So it's super cool.
Someone else.
Yeah, so we'll talk about technology. Another question?
That's all.
All right, so what's going on with plastics, right? I kind of talked about this just a little bit. The demand for post-consumer resin is as high as it's ever been in the United States. right? The Coca-Colas, right? So if you guys all buy a Dasani water bottle that says it's 100% recycled, right, content. And that's true. Coke loves that, right? They love that Dasani's 100%. You think about Driscoll, you think about Kraft Heinz, Procter and Gamble, all the brands that are out there in the world want all that post-consumer resin back into their products because they want to be able to tell the public our containers are 50% or 80% or 100% recycled content, right? Extremely important to the brands when they're making packaging that they're putting post-consumer or recycled content in their packaging. So that's important. Polypropylene technology has emerged. 5 years ago, polypropylene, those tubs, was not allowed in the recycling bin. Today it is. We have it in markets. Most of the polypropylene that we're sorting is going to KW Plastics down in Birmingham, Alabama. They're making the Menards paint cans out of it. So if you go to Menards or some of those areas, there's those plastic paint cans. Those are polypropylene. And most of those are recycled.
You say how to see yogurt container.
Yeah, so yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
when you say tubs, I don't know what. it means.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it means. So if you go down your dairy section at Kroger tomorrow, all of that polypropylene is virgin. There's no recycled content in it. Right? So there's polypropylene, recycled polypropylene is not been approved by the FDA to go back into containers that we hold food that we ingest. That's changing. Right, with Pure Cycle and some of the technologies happening in Ironton, Ohio. But today that is not the case. Paper and plastics, aluminum cups are now acceptable. On the paper side, for you paper folks, it always used to be that little bit of poly on the inside of the cup was always a problem. We could never, the paper mills would never say, hey, I want a bunch of paper cups. It used to be pizza boxes. Remember back in the day, you couldn't recycle a pizza box. Today, pizza boxes are recycled. Why is that changing? It's changing because paper mills are worried about where their raw material is going to come from. You think about, there's not a single paper, I take that back. There's hardly a single paper sitting on in front of you guys right now. Why? Because we all have laptops, right? How many people get a newspaper? Your parents or your family gets a newspaper. No, 2, 3 people raise their hand. But most people don't get a newspaper anymore. So where is all this fiber going to come from? So they're starting to introduce more fibers. Paper cups happens to be one of those. The pulping technology has got to the point where you can segregate that poly away from the fiber with drum pulpers and those type of things. So we're able to recycle things more than we ever have been on the fiber side. PET production is expanding. I'm going to talk about thermoforms. I'll talk about clear bottles and color. I'm going to talk a little bit about pyrolysis.
All right, just want to go back. You said pizza boxes are recyclable now.
They are.
I thought there was issue with like food waste being on recycling.
Yeah, so don't take your crust and take your sausage and make sure it's not on
But
there.
if there's like grease on
Doesn't
there,
hurt it.
okay.
No, that was the concept before, right? Oh my God, the grease is a problem. So paper mills are like, oh, let's bring a bunch in that have grease on it. Didn't cause a single issue. Yeah, so every paper mill across the country except for pizza boxes. Yeah. It's good corrugators, right? Hundreds of thousands of them made all the time, millions of them made every day. We're gonna talk about pyrolysis, and we'll hit a little bit on EPR, extended producer responsibility, just a little bit too. So everybody's seen this. This is really the identification of what plastics are. It's the chasing arrows. What some of the things that are happening in our industry. Plastic tubes are kind of putting a lot of pressure on us. So you think about Colgate, Crest, toothpaste tubes, all HDPE, all highly recyclable. They do have the polypropylene cap, but the problem is if I tell the public put all your tubes in there, I gotta make sure I can take all tubes, not just toothpaste tubes, right? So that means tubes that may have metallic in them and those type of things, so it becomes a little bit issue. But these are up and coming things. Think about Pringles cans, biscuits, Planters peanuts, all those paperboard cylinders that have a metal top and bottom. Again, something that could be coming up in the future as well. Those items are not acceptable today. We don't have a great end market because the magnet picks them all up and puts them all with the steel food cans, and our steel people don't like that. But again, all these things are starting to happen. The other big change that's going on in our industry is small format. So all the small format plastic. So think about a Post-it note. Usually I tell people if it's bigger than a Post-it note, put it in the bin. If it's smaller than a Post-it note, we're probably not going to recover. Right? So that's changing too, because we're using ballistic separators and some of those things instead of using a lot of rotating screens. Where does all of our material go? All of our material stays right here within a 250-mile radius of Cincinnati. So we're really excited about that. 80% of the stuff that people recycle with Rumpkee stays within the state. So all your water bottles go to Phoenix, and Evergreen, here in Clyde, Bowling Green, Ohio. Milk jugs go to Axiom Plastics, where they're making the new blow molded material out of the milk jugs. It's going back to Procter and Gamble. All of our glass stays here in Ohio. A little bit goes to Lawrenceburg, Indiana. You can see we're pretty close. Now, we don't have aluminum can smelters in the state of Ohio, so those do go down to Muscle Shoals, Alabama. We don't have any paper mill or mills, aluminum mills that can turn aluminum cans back into aluminum cans. So kind of a major issue there, but that's okay. We got homes for it. So 250-mile radius. We're very excited about being able to tell people that. This is our new material recovery facility in Columbus, Ohio. It is open today. If you ever get to Columbus, Ohio, that's what it looks like today. And it doesn't look like a material recovery facility. It does look exactly like that. We're very proud of it. I've worked on this for just shy of 3 years, and we opened it up in June of this year. We talked about innovation. So this facility that I just showed you is a 226,000 square foot facility. The tour platform is 150 feet long. We have 65-foot ceilings in the plant. The center has a 32,000 square foot tipping floor, and we can process between 50 and 70 tons an hour. This makes this the largest material recovery facility in the country. The recovery rates on recyclables are up over 98%. So if you guys make a decision to put something in the recycling bin, we recover 98% of that material, which is incredible. It's something we're very proud of. This is a picture of a ballistic separator. So you saw in the video earlier, had all these rotating screens and all that stuff was going everywhere. We don't use rotating shafts or screens in the steel plant. We use ballistics or ellipticals. So when you go to the gym, it's that same type of motion on an elliptical machine. So that is pushing the fiber over the top and the containers off the back. And that's how we segregate two-dimensional, three-dimensional items.
What issues do that raise with like OSHA and safety and things like that, with having the lifeguards?
These here, these are completely enclosed. You can't get them. Let's lock it out. Yeah. You're talking about those little spikes and stuff on there?
Oh, yeah, in the motion too.
Yeah, no, you can't get in that. You couldn't get in that and it's all been locked.
Why did you go to Columbus and not Cincinnati?
So our Columbus facility was extremely old, upwards of 20 years old. It needed to be replaced.
Okay.
And so we decided to do it there. Now we're going to put $22 million into the Cincinnati facility in 2025 and 2026. This project that right here, we just spent $106 million from ED on recycling.
So they're making pretty good money on it.
We are. This is a picture of kind of the inside of it. So it has 19 optical scanners. The scanners replace the hand sorting. So we used to have 35, 38 people per shift. We're now sorting with 12 people on shift. So we reduced our workforce by 2/3. You can see there's no people standing there. It's all done with optics and AI. I'll talk about AI here in just a minute. So this can process up to 250,000 tons annually. We do about 8,000 tons of commercial through this facility as well. So this has 50 Ohio counties feeding into it.
So you said we lost 2/3 of the force, right? But how much did you gain back in terms of like having operators store those and like people maintain things like that?
Yeah, I mean, we really didn't. We kept all, I'm talking to sorters, people that are actually doing physical sorting. If you've done that, it's not a fun job. It's a terrible job. And most of the sorters we had at the whole plant were temporary labor. So we did away with temporary labor, and then we kept the permanent labor, and then we trained them on different items. So they're more than just sorters. They do preventive maintenance, they do housekeeping, they do a bunch of other stuff. Some other functions that we did here in Columbus is that we partnered with, because we're in Columbus, Ohio State University, right? But we do have a career development center at the MERF. So we actually have students that are coming on to the MERF. They have their own classroom at the MERF. And they do capstone projects, they work on AI, they work on robotics, they can work on anything that's going on in the facility, they work on just sustainability, right? So they actually come on site, we partner with them. We actually have a room called OSU Sustainability Institute, which is really, really cool. So that's going on. We have a big education center in this plant, which you'll see pictures of here in just a minute. There's a picture of the tip floor. You can see it's huge, it's 32,000 square feet. That's the piece of equipment that we use to feed the material in. This is very typical of what single stream recycling looks like at any MRF across the country. We're probably a little different here in Ohio than everybody else. But that's really what it looks like. The other thing that we incorporated in this MRF is we put artificial intelligence in front of NIR. So we have 5 AI units sitting in front of NIR, so that I can tell the difference between this PET bottle and the PET plant shell. Because NIR couldn't tell the difference, right? But I put artificial intelligence from it because I take a picture of it by shape, color, and size. Now I can identify and separate those 2 substrates. So thermoforms, you can't make new thermoforms out of bottles or into models, right? The melt index is completely different. So in order for me to, I can sort thermoforms, and then I sell them to Eastman Chemical down in Kingsport, Tennessee. And they use a process called methanalysis. You may know what methanalysis. So they break down PET back to a post-consumer pellet after a hydrocarbon, and then they pelletize it. Most of that pellets, because it's post-consumer PET, goes back into Procter & Gamble, like Herbal Essence, Tide Pods, those like colored PET. Okay, so AI is a big change that we made in this facility. The other big change we made in this facility is that we're sorting the material with a trommel before it goes into the plant. So basically what I'm doing is I'm sizing all the material so it runs in this giant trommel, and inside that trommel has a bunch of holes, and holes get bigger as you go to the end of the trommel. So we cut the material 5 inch and under, 5 to 12, and 12 and over. And we cut that material so we can see it better. We get the glass out earlier in the process, and we're able to identify the materials, all the contaminants very easily because the burden depth is much less. So we put it under 3 belts instead of under 1. So that's kind of new technology as well, that we are sizing the material before it enters the plant.
How do you select all this equipment? You know, it's complicated, right?
Yes.
There's different companies making all these machines.
They are.
They're the best thing.
Yeah, so when Rumpkee told me that I want you to go build a new material recovery facility, first question was, how big do you want it? We wanted it pretty big. And then so I got the opportunity to travel around the country and look at all this equipment. And then we picked 3 machine manufacturers, Van Dyke, Machine X, and CP. And we brought them all in, they did a big presentation. This is $46 million worth of just equipment. So it's a big deal, big contract for them, right? We ended up choosing Machine X as our
I mean, you look on
equipment
the
provider.
internet and every one of these companies says like, this is the thing that's gonna solve all the problems.
Yeah,
But if they don't show it in the facility.
Well, I actually get to go to the facilities and see components of all the stuff they sell in their plants.
It's gonna be tough to put it together.
Yeah, it's tough to put together. We spent hours and hours in a room designing this flow.
And hope that it works.
I hope that it works. And it did. Yeah, it did. Yep, so I helped, I designed it with Machine X's help. So this is some more examples, some conveyors and stuff. We also put big drum magnets in this facility. So instead of using cross belt magnets, put these big drums in. So we have 2 of these. These drums are getting all of the ferrous metals off the line. So all your steel food cans and those type of things. We put 4 giant balers in this plant. You can see the corrugated coming out of that one baler there. We built a nice facility in the back that's connected that we can store all of our finished goods in and get it ready to put on a truck to go to our end users. This is our education center. This is really important to me. So I wanted to tell the story from the time you go to the grocery store and make a decision on what packaging you're going to buy. And what I mean by that, why don't you buy a paper 8 carton instead of a styrofoam 8 carton? Right? Paper is recyclable. Let's do that. That's a good thing. So I want to educate people from 4th grade all the way to, 70 years old. Doesn't matter. Right? I want to educate them and tell them the story. So make good decisions while you're at the store about what is coming in recyclable packaging. And then when it gets to your house, what decision do you have to make there? Do I throw in the trash or do I throw in the recycling bin? So we help people make those decisions. And this is all gamified. We actually have a checkout center where you can scan products across it. It tells you if it's recyclable or not. So it really helps people understand what packaging can go in the recycling bin and what can't. Critically important. We show example, this is test your knowledge here on the collection side. There's actually bins that are here now. And then you can play a game. As items come down, you push it to the recycling side, you push it to the trash side. So we gamified it to kind of make it fun for everybody to be able to do that. But again, we're trying to teach people about the marketplace side, and then when it gets to your home, what's next? The next thing that happens is when you put that cart out the curb, what do we do with it? What happens next? And I tell that entire story through this education center. This is how we sort it. This is the technology, kind of what I'm telling you guys today. So we go through all of that. And then what is a bale? You can see a bale up there. So we actually put bales up here so people understand the package that we have to put this product in to get it to the end users. And then what's it made back into? What's the new life? You can see the new life. We do glass, we got metals, you got paper, and you got plastics. So you have a bunch of different plastics in the display cabinet there. And then what are those plastics made back into? What's the life cycle of a water pump? What's the life cycle of a Tide or Era container? What's it made back into? Most of our HCP goes to ADS, Advanced Drainage Systems. Anybody heard of them? Largest plastic recycler in the United States. And they're making the drainage pipe, the black drainage pipe with the green stripe down the side of it. That's what they make. They're at Ohio based. Questions around that?
There's a lot of jobs.
A lot of jobs. A lot of jobs. Some of the other things that we incorporated in the facility is I talked about the ballistics, talked about the very high recovery rate. Most material recovery facilities in the country let recyclables go out the back end because they don't recover them. I put recovery optics in this plant, so anything that was missed the first time through, we blow back into the system to the front of the container line so that we can recover it. It stays on a continuous loop until it gets recovered. So at the end of the, like on lunch break or whatever, they can shut the MRF down, but they can keep that loop going and it will continually loop until it runs out. So the high recovery rate is extremely, extremely important. And we had the opportunity to do that, so I did it that way. The sortation up front, the glass, so the glass segregation is extremely important. We own and operate our own glass plant. So we make 3 grades. We make a flint in an amber or a clear in an amber. And anything bigger than 3/8 of an inch goes back to bottles and jars. We sell the anchor glass, OI, and those type of people, and they're making spirits and all those things back again. And then the fine grind goes to fiberglass insulation. So we're selling to Johns Manville and Owensboro. So that's what happens to glass. We're doing about 4,000 tons a month of glass. But who's in the plastic side here? Who's done some of the plastic? What are you doing?
I was at Plastic Land up in Columbus, actually drove past the Rumpkee.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, a lot.
What do they do there?
They made like railroad plastic. Yeah, mainly for like light fixtures and stuff.
Okay. Okay, not for food packaging. So
Yeah.
okay. Who else was in plastics? Anybody want to speak up? Talk about chemical recycling. Does everybody know what chemical recycling is? Methanalysis or pyrolysis, or that term, pyrolysis. Right? So basically you're taking plastics, it's really about polyolefins. You're taking those polyolefins, 2, 4, 5, and 6s, breaking it back to a hydrocarbon with heat and pressure, remove the oxygen, sometimes they throw a catalyst in there. And you basically have a bio-oil. That bio will be pelletized. This thing goes back into plastics. So anything that's a polyethylene or a polyolefin, that can be made back into that. So a lot of shrink wraps, a lot of really tough recycled plastics are kind of.
I imagine a lot of these products, they're multi-layered or they have additives. Like, how do you deal with that?
We don't deal with it. Yeah, so listen, if the outside of the plastic container is PET, HD, or polypropylene, we're gonna fire on it. Now, I can't tell what's on the inside. Last week I was in Anaheim and I was speaking in front of 300 people and probably 100 brands. We talked about multi-layer plastics and they're like, well, that's what we're trying to make. I said, couldn't make that. Right? It's not recyclable. Couldn't make it. I know there's places that need that. I understand there's applications for that. I totally get it. But I really shied away from it. multi-layered plastic.
So then what do you think the relationship is between consumer needs and wants versus like what companies
Great question.
will handle?
Great question.
Multi-layer plastic,
Yep, yeah, it looks pretty on the shelf, right?
they might.
Or they're- Yeah, or their container needs it, you know, their product needs to have multi-layer, right? Whether it's food preservative or whatever it happens.
The
to
low
be.
quality product.
That's right, that's right. Listen, I know that that type of stuff is out there and it's gonna happen. It's just very difficult for recycling for us to exactly get it back to something. They're tough to recycle multi-layer plastics, there's too many things going on. That's right, the chemical recycling can come in, you know, if the multi-layers are all olefins, that could work. Again, I depend on what plastic is in the container. But I think chemical recycling is gonna have its place in the United States powerhouses. There's only a couple powerhouses plants that are operating today.
But like,
Well, right,
yeah,
actually,
but I mean, is there like a, do you guys know roughly how much plastic you have to put into a pyrolysis to make it like energy equivalent? Or how much you spend on a flame, the pressure, all that, percent on it, so we get back out of it?
I know enough about pyrolysis, just to tell you what it's told you. I don't know anything about that, about how much it goes in. First of all, I haven't seen one run. I mean, they're just, I mean, even the one actually at the end, it's barely got them going. I know there's one up in it's Altera up in northern Ohio, it's a very small scale. Brightmark is building one in Hebron, Ohio. So that's going on. There's a couple other ones in the United States too. So, yeah, so I think chemical recycling and all that's gonna have its place. I think about low density polyethylene, Walmart bags and all those things that kind of come into our homes. I really don't want those to recycle bin either. You know, they get really dirty, they get a bunch of food waste and all this stuff on them, grit and dirt, they're just not worth anything. But those can be recycled, it's just not, again, it can't be recycled through our process.
You said you were gonna talk about lithium batteries and.
Yeah, so, yep, so what we did in Cincinnati, so if you come to our Cincinnati MRF here in a couple weeks, we installed an X-ray machine. And we were talking earlier about what type of X-ray, we think it's a tube, that we come up with, Greg, we came up with kind of a tube.
Yeah.
Thing, but anyway, so all the recyclables run into the X-ray machine. The X-ray machine sees through the burden depth. And because I can see through the burden depth, I can use artificial intelligence to identify lithium ion batteries. Once the battery is identified, the material exits the X-ray machine and I point to that battery on the belt of the X-ray. So that's what's happening in Cincinnati today. So I can pull the lithium ion batteries off the sort belt and not run through the plant and cause a fire. Lithium ion batteries are really bad. Really bad. Say that again.
Like the airport thing, when you throw your.
Yeah, so you ever go on the airport and they say, do you have any lithium ion batteries in your carry-on? Same concept, they don't want them in an airplane. Yeah,
So, good, again, how does that work? So the X-ray,
so the X-ray can see through the burden depth of the material as it's running, doesn't stop. I mean, it's running, the belt's probably running 200 feet a minute. And then as it's running through, the artificial intelligence that's linked to the X-ray,
they receive
they receive the information from the X-ray, and on probability, the AI can tell you out of all the items you just saw, which ones are lithium ion batteries.
goes that way over there.
Then it goes away, goes out the X-ray, and then it tells that laser, AI tells that laser where it is on the belt, and the laser follows it. Well, on the belt. So nothing stops. Remember, this belt's moving 200 feet a minute, right? So this all happens like.
Do they have like a red button you push it, something that gets through?
So we have a full cord that is a polished cord.
Okay,
Yes, they can pull the cord.
Yeah.
Right, they can't see it, say it's underneath a piece of paper or something, they can't see it, but the laser's pointing to it. They get a pause, in that belt, and they can pull it.
Then also look at your, I don't know, like your safeguard too, or somebody calls.
So you have an e-stop,
Yeah,
which is if somebody, well, the belts are, you have to jump on top on the, you know. So they're a little bit of both ways. So I have an e-stop cord and I have a pause and resume. Other questions, you know?
So you mentioned food waste.
Yeah.
How big of a problem is food waste getting into like recycling?
Yeah, so we ask this is what I tell everybody. I don't expect you to put your peanut butter jar in the dishwasher, right? A lot of people soak it overnight, right? It's tough to get peanut butter out of the PET container. But I ask people just to give it a rinse and put it in the recycling bin, right? If I ask people to do more than that, number one, they're probably not gonna do it. Number two, I'm making it more difficult to recycle, and then people won't recycle, right? So I try to make it easy. And when you walk into our material recovery facility, you kind of get a smell of stale milk. Yeah. There's probably the smell you get. It's not overwhelming, but that's the smell you get. But you don't smell like nastiness or nothing like that. Food waste in the state of Ohio. Listen, we like the food waste in the landfill because it helps us generate methane gas that we run through our gas plant. We screw up the methane, the bad gas, we make a compressed natural gas out of the methane that we put in our trucks. We fill our trucks with, right? So that's kind of a cool thing. Yeah, everybody knows where our landfill is on Culver Avenue, out on the east. Yeah, I don't call it. Smells great. It smells great as we drive by. Other than Oxford, I drive by all the time. So anyway, but the other thing is, all right, how do we, if we get the food waste out, we run it through composting. So composting, right, the big word out there, composting. The problem is we can do that. Problem in the state of Ohio, we don't have very many users that are taking compost. So that's the problem. So if you have all this food waste, you collect all this food waste, where do you take it? So our infrastructure isn't very good in Ohio yet. Now that's not to say it's not coming, but right now it's not very good.
Back in high school, there was this thread from like the principal and stuff, like if you didn't recycle things correctly, or there were too many things that like weren't recyclable, like they would like come to a stop collecting recycling from us at the school. Was that like an empty threat, or like how do you like identify where the source of like the non-recyclable things are coming from?
We don't.
Okay.
We
That's
don't.
kind of what I figured, but
We don't. But I'm gonna tell you what's coming. We're putting artificial intelligence on our trucks. So when we come into your address, and let's say all three of you are neighbors, and we come to your address and you're on our route, we know the addresses that are on our routes, we come by. And when we dump your material into the truck, artificial intelligence will see the material dumped in the truck, and we can tell what your contamination is at your house. We can also tell whether you put your recycling bin out and she didn't. Right? She didn't put it out because we know she has one. We know she has one because she's on our route. You know, but she didn't put it. So I can also tell how much people are participating, right? Now she may have been on vacation now.
yeah, like how do you separate participation, right, versus like, I didn't have this much recycling this week,
You
so
don't.
I'm been out.
Good one. But you just put it out every week. If you weren't putting it out every week, then we could tell that, right? It's not like we're gonna leave an Instagram on your house today. Shame on you, recycling leaves. That's not what we're trying to do. But my point by telling you all that is artificial intelligence. We can now, if you told me to sort all the water bottles, all Dasani water bottles in my Merc, I'd be able to do it. If you told me to sort all the Tide detergent containers that come through the Merc, I'd be able to do it. So we can see by brand, not just by substrate. So AI is a game changer. Everybody talks about AI, you know, we're all about that. I never thought I would talk about it in recycling. Here we are. Here we are. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So no, to answer your question, we don't know where it's going. But yes.
With the hard to recycle, like the hefty renew.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Does that, I know they're in the bright orange bags. Are the bright orange bags separated out before this whole process and go somewhere else?
They are. So in November of last year, we did the Happy Renew. It was my baby. And basically you go to Kroger or Walmart or Meijer today, you can buy 20 bags for $6.99. It's completely voluntary, right? You have to go want to do that. But inside that bag, you can put all of your film, all of your polystyrene, all of your styrofoam, all of your packaging. So if you buy like, you know, toilet paper or paper towels, that packaging around that, all that stuff can go in there. So all the film that's in your house or in your area, you can put all that in that your new bag. You tie up the bag when it's full, you put it in your recycling bin. We come around, we pick it up, it ends up dumping at our Merc, and you just saw up here. And then as the material goes through our pre-sort, the entire orange bag is pulled off the belt. We never empty it, we never tear it, we never do anything, we just pull it off. drop it into a bunker, that bunker's full, we send the bales to the bags to the baler, we bale them, and then I call Hefty and I say, I got a truckload of bags ready. And then Hefty will pick them up, and they're making plastic lumber, plastic pallets, plastic, park benches, plastic railroad ties, which is a big thing now. So all that's happening, so that's the Hefty Renew program. So since November of last year, when I implemented that, we have moved 30,000 pounds of plastic out of the landfill.
I guess the plastic lumber is not recyclable, because they put wood in. plastic.
Yeah, but this is not that type of,
Okay.
it's not Trex, it's not
Okay, yeah.
composite decking,
Uh-huh.
this is true plastic lumber.
I see,
It's made in Omaha, Nebraska.
okay,
They're not putting sawdust in, but
all right,
yeah, but Trex does, you're right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just read that, it's like,
Yeah.
anything to do, and it's like,
Yeah,
they're saying like, now people are like, this group saying don't buy it.
yeah, yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, exactly. So the Hefty Renew program is a voluntary program to recycle hard to recycle plastics. Look,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
How does this facility compare to, say, European facilities, and is there like a gold standard?
did you say what,
So European,
oh, we're way up. This facility, I showed you a picture of, is way down. Columbus facility, I put it right up there with it.
and
Yeah, but the problem is, in Europe, you're mandatory recycling. Right? We're not mandatory recycling in the United States. You can choose to recycle, you can choose not to.
so that federal involvement dictates like the flow, the size, the capabilities, not all that.
In Europe?
Yeah.
Yes, it does, big time. Now, I will tell you that there's 5 states in the United States that have EPR, extended producer responsibility. California, Oregon, Colorado, Minnesota, and Maine. Those 5 states are basically holding their brands financially responsible to make packaging that's recycled. Right, because if I talk about that. So, is it gonna happen here in Ohio? It's gonna be a while, we're a pretty Republican state, it's gonna, before people can tell us what to do in Ohio, it's gonna take some time. But listen, it's coming, I think that, it's gonna continue to happen that way, so. Bottle bills is another one, right? Deposit laws, if you live in the state of Michigan or Maine or, some Rhode Island, maybe not Rhode Island, but, Connecticut. You can take your bottles and your aluminum cans back, get money back. California's that way.
Washington.
Yeah, so there's deposit law too. I'm kind of boo on deposit laws. You take aluminum cans out of my plant, aluminum cans are somewhere $1 a pound right now. That means a 20-ton truckload of aluminum cans going down the road for 50,000. Yeah, you take that away from the herd, that's a lot of money. So we have to be supplemented for something.
I was gonna ask if there's anything you wish you saw more of, but I guess the aluminum cans.
Aluminum cans are a big one, yeah, so listen, the other thing is to remember. That all the containers I say I want, whether it's steel food can, aluminum can, PET 1, 2, or PET bottle HD or polypropylene container, 70% of them go to trash. We'll only get 30% nationally. Right, so why is that? Every single person that lives in the city of Cincinnati gets a recycling card. You want to guess how many people participate? It's free. Oh, by the way, it's free. That's low. Good guess, so that's low. 13% is low. Give me some more guesses. 50's close. 61% of the people participate in the city of Cincinnati. It's not bad, but why don't the other 40% participate when it's sitting at their house and it doesn't cost them anything? So that's the big nugget. So why aren't they doing it? Maybe they just don't believe it, maybe they think I'm throwing it all away, whatever the case may be. The city of Columbus is the exact same way. It's city of Cincinnati is every other week recycling. The city of Columbus is every week recycling. And they get a card, no cost, delivered to their house. Okay, so again, we have a big issue, the national recycling rate in the United States is, 34-36%. So we got a lot of work to do. Ohio's not much better. So I don't answer your question. We'd love to see more of it, it's just trying to get people to believe it.
Do you think the population size of those companies would pass it too?
I just think they're really, maybe, but I think they're really far ahead of us. I mean, European countries don't have a problem switching that, telling you, put your recycling down, you get it fine. Probably not happen in the United States. We have a revolt. Right?
That, like in Germany, there's on system in certain parts where like, and also in culture, like you need bottles like certain places, like you have to pick them up.
That's right.
So these like automatic machine.
That's right. You have a reverse vending machine?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do all that stuff. The other thing is, so think about the city of San Francisco for a minute. When you live in San Francisco, you have a compost cart, you have a recycling cart, and you have a trash cart. You want to guess which one's the smallest? Trash cart. So they're forcing you to put more recycling and more compost in and less trash, right? But listen, we're gonna move that direction, it's just a matter of time.
Is it harder to get your recycling out in a more rural section?
It's very, very tough. So there's two ways. We have curbside, right, which is everybody understands that you put your card out, we pick it up. You have drop off. So there's drop off centers where you can actually take your recycling to a drop off center. When those bins become full, we'll pick it up. We just bring it all in. Rural areas are very tough because if I go to your house and I gotta drive 2 miles to go to the next house, it gets very expensive, right? Instead of going to a house like these 3 ladies, I go their house, their house, their house, right? If I gotta go to your house and then come to my house, which I'm 2 miles away from you, then the cost of that becomes very expensive. So rural recycling is tough. Even if you use subscription, in other words, you call up Rumpkee and said, hey, I want to recycle, and you're the only one that's going to recycle in that area, they're probably going to tell you no. Right, so that's just, so rural recycling is a major problem. I'd say it was also another major problem, is multifamily, so apartment complexes, condos, and those type of things. All those, which there's a bunch of that in the United States, 30% of people live in apartment complexes in the United States. Recycling is not very good there either. Because there's a cost to it. The apartment complexes don't want to pay for it.
I guess that kind of rush, it's like, in Europe, it's one of the common two, where you have areas where one person owns like 250 acres before you hit the next person who owns 250 acres, like. This, I mean, this, I guess, do you think that would be kind of a big difference to their lot, whether it's.
It could be, you know more about that than I do, I don't know how people are laid out.
Because like, when you go to Kentucky and someplace, they have these big farms that you have to drive 20 minutes to get that.
They're probably not, they probably want recycling in their house. Yeah. Okay, so cost, listen, there's 3 things about recycling. Cost, how do we make it cheaper? Access, how do we make it available? And then participation, how do we make people do it? Right, those are the three pillars of recycling. That's what we're working on, that's just in Ohio and Cincinnati and national. I mean, all over the country, that's what we're doing. Yes.
Because it's a lucrative market for the company, like, do you envision there will be more programs where it's like you get paid to bring back fewer things?
It's maybe, but here's the problem with that concept. You guys are in the paper mills, you guys know this. So paper pricing changes the 5th day of every single month. Aluminum pricing can change daily. Plastics pricing changes every 30 days as well, up or down. So because everything that I just talked about is a globally traded commodity, and it can be traded on not only domestically but internationally as well. It's tough to. So here's how it works. We know what the cost of our plant is. Let's say the cost of our plant to run is $100 a ton. That's what it costs to run our recovery facility. So when the value of all those commodities gets over $100 a ton, we share back with the cities. We share back with the city of Cincinnati our revenue. So we don't keep it all. When the value of the commodities goes under $100 a ton, then we charge the city of Cincinnati for recycling. Does that make sense? So those values, those commodities are going up and down all the time, and that's what changes the pricing structure. So, you know, corrugated today is selling for $115. Corrugated boxes today, I can sell them to a mill for $150 a ton. I'm concerned on the 5th of next month because of the longshore strike on the coast right now. 27,000 dock workers get ready to go on strike on Monday potentially. You know, if that happens, all that paper that goes overseas all stays domestic. Right, oversupply, prices move through the basin. So, you know, corrugated moves out. So those are the things we deal with. You're always going up, commodities are always going up and down, all of them.
So does the city pay Rumpkee to collect garbage?
That's correct.
Do they pay, they don't pay for the recycling?
They do.
Oh, they do, okay, so you get cash flow from that.
Yeah, they
And
do.
you're also guaranteed on the other end, kind of guaranteed somewhat.
I'm guaranteed some price.
Buffers.
That's right. That's right. But a lot of cities aren't like Cincinnati where they can supplement a recycling program.
Uh-huh.
A lot of cities are much smaller and they're on that scale that I just described.
So which part is it paying more fees, the selling or the being paid?
All the selling for sure.
Okay, so
Oh,
you
yeah.
could almost do it for free and sell it.
As long as I can cover the cost of my plan consistently over time.
Yeah, it's a good, so there's no competition, right? You aren't allowed to have competition.
No, you can.
Oh, you could?
Oh, yeah. Somebody could come in and build a MRF tomorrow. I mean, if you want to come in and build a MRF tomorrow and compete with me, you can do it.
What's a big upfront cost, like 500 million bucks?
Yeah, it's a huge contract. No, to build a MRF, yeah.
Oh, you have to get the trucks.
Yeah, it's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
it's
it's
a huge.
probably more like 700
Right.
million bucks.
Yeah. Hey, if we have more people participate, the lower the cost. Too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The more volume we run through.
But are you looking to go to like, Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at Indianapolis. Indianapolis is kind of squirrely. Indianapolis is the largest city in the United States that does not have single stream recycling at the city level.
Oh.
They're terrible.
Wow.
Now they're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could do that. We could get a big contract and go in and build a plant.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of capital. We just gotta make sure you do it right.
You said that you have more recycling competitors, prices.
Competitor, I didn't say competitor,
Or what
volume.
volume of like
Of
materials.
material.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause I was gonna say, well, if there's more companies, but like consumers don't really have a choice, I guess.
They don't, but the more people recycle, the lower I can lower the cost. Yeah, it's not really about competition in the recycling world, so if you had like 3 material recovery plants. Competing for, would it lower the cost of recycling in the city of Cincinnati is what you're asking? My answer is no, we're not. Because now we're all sharing the same volume.
Exactly.
That I was originally. Awesome.
But I was also gonna ask, because you said that 20-year-old facility was old. So is there like higher than normal, like wear and tear because of
Because of the volume, there is. Yeah, if you're having a 20-ton-an-hour facility, it may last you 25, 30 years. You know, if you're running a 60-ton an hour facility that we do, you know, you're replacing equipment 10 to 15 years. Oh, yeah. Anything else?
I got a squirrel
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine married a woman her father ran the garbage business in New Jersey. And it was run by the mob.
Yeah.
I'm wondering like,
You want to know if the Rumpkees are part of the?
no, I'm just wondering how Ohio gets by, and the same in Rhode Island. Basically, it's organized in like Johnston, Rhode Island, which is a mafia town, you know? Basically, yeah, the mafia's been involved in garbage a long time, a lot of places, maybe not Ohio.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, so in Ohio, so the Rumpke family, so Mount Rumpke, the landfill, that everybody's kind of familiar with, was the Rumpke family farm, in 1932. So in 1932, they came together and they had a bunch of hogs and they needed to feed the hogs. So they went to restaurants and got their food waste to feed the hogs. Well, several years later, a law came out that you had to cook food before you could feed it to livestock. So that stopped what they were doing, and so they decided to go pick up garbage instead.
Huh.
So they got permitted for the landfill that's there.
Yeah.
And of course, moved their farm off of it, and they've been doing garbage ever since. So I report to Bill Rumpke, who's the 3rd generation of the Rumpke family. He's 59 years old, and his sons are in the business too.
But did they ever get a knock on the door and like some mafia guys?
I don't think so. He's never told me a story like
I
that.
mean, I'm wondering like.
Yeah,
how they-
I don't think so.
You know, why in New Jersey is like that?
Yeah, I just think it's the
Oh, there's
area.
in other
Yeah.
parts of the country.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's just, yeah, we've never had anything else. Yeah.
aside from lithium batteries, are there any hazardous, toxic, radioactive materials that you have to do?
No, propane tanks. Are a problem. We get a lot of those, but those 2 things. We don't need cool chemicals once in a while. Cool,
It's like chlorine.
like chlorine,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
bull shock, those type of things. We'll get some of that once in a while. We get some really crazy stuff. He said, I just heard of dead batteries, dead people in the landfill. Where we had Jason Kelsey's ring in the landfill, it's probably buried there. There's an elephant buried in the landfill. You guys heard the Kelsey story, right?
No.
Jason's ring. You know, he was here, he lost his ring in Skyline, Chile.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember.
Yeah, it's actually very, quite prepared. They actually brought people up, and started looking for it on land. I'm not kidding you.
Well,
They got a bunch of students. What else you got?
What about aluminum foil?
Aluminum foil is a no-go, so aluminum foil has a different melt index than aluminum used beverage can.
I see.
So we have to segregate it, so if I told too many people for all their aluminum foil in the recycling bin,
Yeah.
it would contaminate our UVCs. Our used beverage containers, and we won't be able to sell them. So do we get aluminum foil? We do. But in our Cincinnati, we're hand picking it away from the UVCs. And in Columbus, I'm using AI to blow it away from the UVCs.
And it goes to garbage?
It goes to, no, we can, aluminum's recyclable, aluminum foil is recyclable. I just have to segregate it.
I see.
So it goes to a secondary metals.
You shouldn't put it in the recycle.
It should not.
Okay. All right, I do.
Yeah.
It seems like it's recycled.
It does to me too.
Yeah,
It actually is recyclable, it's just tough.
that's called.
It's a contaminant.
Recycling, we call
It is wish cycle.
Anyway, so we have some for coffee questions.
What's the weirdest thing that you ever seen about?
Yeah, we've had two of them come through our Columbus Bird last year. Tank left, I was there. And luckily, I was. I was not. I think it was a woman. And she was, I think, a prostitute, somebody threw her in the back of the recycling can, we picked her up and dumped her in the truck.
That's so.
Only in Columbus.
That's not happening since that happened.
Who can I say for?
God. It is laughable. How many people are from Ohio? Most of them are okay. Alright.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. Hopefully this thing recorded it. It's finicky, like, I don't know what, I really don't know what. So I'm just gonna shut it off. Yeah, it comes up to my account, yeah. If it does, I'll put it post